This week on the OneCast, we're going to break down how the bass fishing world is heating up, covering Lake Fork and some of the upcoming bass fishing tournaments.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's going to be a bad day.
Waiting on Pete. No, just kidding. Welcome back to the OneCast, everyone. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Like we said, check out all of our great partners and all the relationships that we have by joining OneCastFishing.com. Head on over to their website, check them out, get your hands on the snagless jigs, all the soft plastics, all the swag for the bass fishing world is right there for your taking. You just got to use the code TheOneCast to save a little bit of change and get your hands on some of that cool stuff. Also, Pete,
what?
Looking right at your hat. What do we got going on?
Oh,
there?
yeah. Head over to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word. Check out all the awesome gear they have over there. The UPF shirts, casual wear, hats. Still got a few hoodies left. I know it's coming out of that season, but it's never a bad idea to stock up for next year and, support those that support us. So that's CarolinaWatersNC.com, code TheOneCast.
Absolutely. And, we talked about it a little bit. We gave you guys some sneak peeks, but we got a really cool partnership that we're getting ready to jump into. So you can kind of see some of these things on the table, but we will, did we already do an official announcement? So Hobie Eyewear, we are totally jumping on board with those guys. They are supporting the show and we are supporting them by promoting their products. They have great products. Hobie Eyewear has a ton of different varieties for outdoorsmen as far as like the, I'm losing my train of thought here, but the water, like the Mojo floats, they got casual wear, eyeglasses. They got some really cool stuff. Also the swag bag that they sent us for promoting the product too. These are pretty cool. We keep these on the table, but you guys are going to check those guys out. We'll get an affiliate code here real soon to where you can use that. Head on over to their website, save a little bit of change and sport already a great priced product, right? We all rock their sunglasses to protect our eyes and make sure we can see a little bit better on the water. And plus you're going to really want to get your hands on those Sight Masters because, the spawn is coming up here soon. And especially if you have low light conditions, you're going to check those out. And then last but not least, we want to thank our buddy Eric Schwinn at Mossy Oak Properties. Eric is serving your Sandhills area here in the Triangle region around the Fort Liberty or what used to be Fort Bragg. He's a real estate broker that has your piece of paradise that you're looking for. And you guys can get a hold of him, shoot him a text, give him a call at 936-494-9686 or send him an email at eschwind@mossyoakproperties.com. So that's ESCHWIND at mossyoakproperties.com. He's got tons of landscapes, rolling hills, all those good things that you're looking for to get your little piece of paradise. Woo! The more and more partners you get, like the more and more breathtaking it becomes at the very beginning. So
yeah, we got a long list there, but
not a bad problem to have, though.
Another not bad problem to have is 10 century belts handed out on Championship Sunday on Lake Fort down there in Texas in the Bassmaster Elite Series event. Couple cool things. The youngest ever Bassmaster Elite Series winner, Trey McKinney, 19 years old. Kid's a hammer. I met him at ICAST when he was like 16. So what, 3-4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
I think he just turned 16 and got to talk to him and his mentor. And you could just tell the kid had it. And at that point, he wasn't bragging about himself. He's a super humble kid, but his coach was definitely bragging on him. He was like 16. And I think he had won like 11 boats already. Like local regional stuff, BFLs and all of that. So the kid's got a lot of success since he started tournament fishing. It's always been his goal. He skipped college because his goal was to make it, which I don't condone to anybody, but I think what we see is a generational talent. And the hate out there because he caught some before facing sonar, but then he went shallow and did them. I think that was what cool this tournament. Like it started offshore, right? Because they had that cold front come in. Everybody was kind of out there poking along, but as it warmed up, as the tournament progressed, everybody went shallow, and that you can't say that somebody that did well only did well because of forward-facing sonar, because it didn't play as much a factor the last few days. So it was fun. It was a good tournament. 132 and some change.
I don't know. I'll pull it up right now while we're talking.
He was like a pound and a half off the all-time record, which is 134. So he needed one more 8-pounder, and he'd have had it. But it's wild. Maddie had a great tournament, friend of the show, ended up in 11th. He got knocked out of the top 10 with like 15 minutes left to fish. by I think it was Cooper Gallant caught one. Put him in there. Maddie, we love you, bro. Like, don't let it get to you. You were spinning a little bit, and it was tough. It was tough to watch, but he also had some really good refocus moments and talked about how he kind of gets over some of those lost fish. So lots of education. I'll say, but not to cut you off, Ben, I'll let you get here in 1 second. I have learned more about fish behavior late winter, pre-spawn, rolling into the spawn in the last 2 weeks on those 2 Texas tournaments with the elites, and I have learned in my entire life.
What's the biggest thing you've taken away?
That suspended fish will eat.
Is
one.
Well,
sure. You don't have to go shallow.
Yeah, it was cool. It's always been a thing. Like, you can fish, catch bass year round offshore, even during the spawn. Those, because the different ways. There's always fish who live offshore. It just may not be the winning pattern. It was cool. Like with Trey, he is so dialed in with this tool that he wouldn't even cast to a fish he didn't think was over 5 pounds.
Right.
It's like, was not even worth it, especially at that lake, the weights they were putting out. And it absolutely phenomenal. 10 century belts, and it's only 10 because there probably would have been 15 or maybe even 20 if everyone could have fished on the final day. But it's only the top 10 on Championship Sunday, but absolutely phenomenal. We were calling it when we on our live that we were going to have everyone would have.
I think you'd have seen 20 if all 50 guys fished the last 2 days. I think you would have seen 20 pretty easy.
Yeah, the top 10 was stacked, man. And just
rookies too in the top.
Yeah, so Trey McKinney weighed in almost 131 pounds. So he had 130 pounds, 15 ounces. Right behind him, less than or about 5 pounds was Tyler Rivette. This is Tyler Rivette's 3rd year on the Elite Series. He got a victory last year at the very first event on Okeechobee.
Yep.
Fishing something very different than the rest of the field. Justin Hamner came in 3rd place with
rookie.
one. Yep. Is he a rookie this year?
Yep.
124.10. Tyler Williams, he's a rookie.
Yep.
He came in with 124.9.
Tyler caught all his fish on jigs.
Yeah.
That's all he fishes.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Atkins came in at 117.12. He's a seasoned veteran. Stetson Blaylock as well with 117.11. Wesley Gore, is he a rookie? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, Gore's a rookie. Yep.
Ben Milliken,
rookie.
This is his 2nd top 10 in his 2nd Elite Series event. He had 113 pounds. Kyle Patrick, and then to finish it out in 10th place was our Canadian friend Cooper Gallant. So this is Coop Gallant's 2nd season on the Bassmaster Elite
Kyle
Series.
Patrick's a rookie too.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
so someone posted. I don't remember the numbers where someone posted like the top 10 and the bottom 10 for the last 2 tournaments and the age difference.
Yeah,
and there's a massive age gap.
Oh yeah,
with all the young guys in the top.
Well,
10.
I mean, let's look at. I mean, while we got it pulled up, we can look at the bottom, right? And I always think that's interesting when you see it. But let's go to the bottom. Let's go to the bottom 5. So finished last place David Mullins in 103rd, Cliff Perch, Matt Robertson, Ed Lochran, and Clint Davis. Like, those guys all have a lot of experience on the elites.
And it was crazy that Lee Livesey did not have a good tournament out there. And we all know it's always difficult to win on your home lake, but he's won the last 2 of them there with century belts. So
yeah,
it's just crazy that this time, I remember after day 1, like, it was a struggle for Lee out there. And so
it's Hamner's 2nd year too. I had him.
Is it?
I have him.
Was he was a collegiate angler, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, overall, like, Lake Fork, obviously Lee Livesey, anyone that's on your home lake, like, you're always usually the favorite, I mean, for good reasons. Like, Lee won it back to back. But I think you're seeing the lakes get unlocked more and more every single time a tournament rolls around. And, there's a lot of people that are pissed off about, like, forward facing sonar and stuff, but you have to understand, like, what stage the fish were in during the season, right?
So one thing I've learned, and I'm going to say this with confidence, is people don't care that folks are using forward-facing sonar.
Right.
I've been looking a lot at all of these arguments that are breaking out all over social media and the cesspool that is Facebook. And what people are actually mad about, and I've seen this comment 50 times today, all these no names are in the top 10. people aren't mad that if Gerald Swindle was out there winning tournaments with forward facing,
They wouldn't be mad.
People wouldn't be complaining. They're mad because their heroes, the guys that we all grew up watching, aren't at the top of the list all the time now. And yeah, as much as I like to see Hackney up there whacking them every week and all of these other folks, it always progresses, right? I remember how mad people got in the early 90s with a certain dude that's been around for a while and won a bunch of stuff too.
Is it Ramos Schmevin? Damn.
It may ride.
No, you're right. Like there's always going to be new people. There's new champions every year in the Super Bowl. There's new champions in whatever baseball does. I don't follow baseball, right? Whatever that is. What is that? What's baseball?
World Series.
World Series. Yeah, sure. Or the US Open, right? Like new people win, man. Like that's just the name of the game. And like certain people are better at certain techniques. I mean, everybody knew that Tommy Biffle was the dude, right? Or David Fritz was a dude with a crankbait, or Kevin Van Dam will crush you with a lot of hard baits, right? Like,
jerkbait, crankbait,
you know, like, or you know, Aaron Martin's with his finesse techniques, right? Yeah. It is literally no different. It's no different. And you talked about it. You guys, we've all talked about it. Like the learning curve is just a lot smaller than it ever has been.
And I think I brought this up on live the other night, but yes, people are complaining about those guys aren't there. And look, some of those guys are starting to complain on, you know, going across stage and all.
Yeah.
And what gets me is that, you know, these guys who have been doing this professionally for 10, 15, 20 years or longer, they should be the best at it.
Yeah.
Like they had the access to the technology before. We can get into that because some of those guys did it for a while because they weren't with Garmin. Like if you go through the timeline, but they had the access to all the technology, all the sponsor deals. Like they fish for a living. Like they could put a lot of time in to learn the technology, and I just don't think a lot of them did it. And now I think they got caught up. They got
comfortable in the ability to catch fish, and they didn't continue to evolve.
Yeah,
their craft and learn to use new tools and for techniques. Yeah, they've all gone out there and caught them on jerk baits for how long, but now you have this new tool to add to your jerk bait that helps you be more efficient because you can see where to throw instead of just fan casting a point, 1,000 casts hoping to catch one out there. Now you can scan that point and find the fish and make more accurate casts. And you're right, they got comfortable in what they were doing. They didn't take the time to learn. And I think everybody sort of gets that way. Like you get into a routine and a groove where, well, I'm here. I don't need to work like I used to. I'm getting older. I can and that's what it is. They didn't want to put the work in. And I will counter you with saying, you know, they had access before everybody, because I think there's a big misconception that all of these folks have access to all this stuff. Most of these dudes barely get their entry fees covered by sponsors. A lot of them buy their electronics outright. They don't all get discounts on electronics. And that's where the debate comes on, should they limit how many forward-facing transducers and how many graphs and all that on their boat. And I think they should for the integrity of competition because, yeah, everybody can go put 10 transducers on their boat, but not everybody can afford to go put 10 transducers on their boat.
Yeah.
And that, by limiting that, you take out the person who might have made better financial decisions. For whatever reason, they have more access to money. You take money out of the equation at this point. Now, we all have the same gear. It's purely skill at that point, and forward facing sonar is a skill. If you don't have it on your boat, and you're talking about how it's cheating, stop, because you have no idea. Trey and I went out last weekend and pre-fished for a tournament and looked at I don't know how many.
It can just get more frustrating.
It just it does. It really does.
But you bring me a good point, and that's why I paused there when I said, look, guys had access to everything, because I was thinking about the timeline of the technology when it came out. So, you know, Panoptics, the original one, which looks like 2D, came out in 2015. But look, guys, we've talked about it. Guys have been video game fishing vertically for drop shotting with 2D for decades.
Oh, yeah.
The guys used to turn their 2D horizontally. Actually, there was some stuff in the 90s that was, I mean, it wasn't nearly as good, but it was the same concept as Panoptics and LiveScope. So 2015, and then LiveScope comes out in 2018. The problem is, so some of those guys who were at the other companies, not Garmin, but Lowrance, Minn Kota, because Lowrance's first attempt at live technology was not very good.
No,
then
they paid into Garmin's patent.
Exactly, right? Because Garmin had all the technology and the research and development, and so the guys who didn't have Garmin didn't have access to it. You know, they still had multi-year deals, And now we're starting to see guys, they don't have any really sponsorship for electronics, or they've worked into their agreement. They can use multiple platforms because, right, there are differences. And so not everyone had access to it. And then you had the whole COVID issue for 2 years where people couldn't get stuff. And then, so they weren't going out and using it. Maybe they didn't have it. And then by the time all these news guys have been using it for 4 or 5 years come in there, it's just, it's a learning curve. They got to get on the bandwagon because it's here.
And the problem with all the banners, if you're going to ban it, you have to ban it from high school all the way into the top elites, BPT, whatever it is. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I don't think that people's lifelong heroes like, Rick Clunn and Hackney and Swindle and all those guys, I don't think they're done. I think the way that the tournament schedule sets up allows for people to fish their strengths. Fortunately for the guys that fished all 9 of the opens are extremely conditioned. So they're pretty strong coming into this to include using that technology. I think there's something to be said. Like when you look at any professional, like career field across the board, usually your younger talent that you bring in, no matter what it is, they're hungrier. They're always hungrier, right? Yeah. The guys that have been doing it for 20 years, like me, when I bring a new guy into the mix, he or she is hungry. They want to get after it. They want to know everything about everything. They're a sponge. They're soaking up knowledge while I'm stuck in my tenured life. And so that happens in most career fields. And then when you look at fortune companies, they cut the bottom 15% annually that they say isn't providing them a return on investment. And that's what you get with the elites. You get cut, right?
Yeah. You look at fortune companies too. Like that's a great example that almost every fortune company, every big corporation, everything you look how long their CEOs and folks stay.
Yeah.
It's usually 5 years. And then they move either on to somewhere else because they don't want to get stagnant. The company doesn't want them to get stagnant in that leadership role. And they tend to move around and take their talents to where they feel like they can have a bigger impact. It's
professional bass fishing.
South Beach.
Yeah. South Beach.
Professional bass fishing. It's just a weird dynamic, right? Really like it's a sport that you can spend like 50 plus years in, it's unlike many of the other sports out there. You can just spend so much time there as long as you requalify and stuff. And you know what? I'm sure that in everyone's entitled to their opinion, there probably are genuine concerns that are from the very seasoned anglers about not that these kids are, they are definitely taking your lunch money, but at the same time, like bass and the rest of the leagues are trying to figure out the right way to approach this. So sometimes you have to let the situation develop before you start making or taking knee-jerk reactions to everything, right? Because it's not an easy decision on the organization at all to say, we're going to regulate it, we're not going to regulate it, right? Because no matter what the decision they make, it's going to affect somebody, right? It's going to affect viewership, anglers, sponsors, across the board. It's going to have an effect. To what degree? I think they're still trying to figure that out. So I think people just need to be a little patient.
People just need to realize it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, not going anywhere. They could regulate it, right?
They're not regulated in the number, but they're not going to regulate it in like when they can use it or how they can use it.
Too much money involved.
There's too much money involved. And for all of you that are going to get upset about that, a business has to make money to run. A tournament organization, BASS, is a business. They have to have money to run. They have to be able to have tournament directors and all that stuff. There's a league trying to start that's trying not to make any money and put everything back into the anglers, and they can't get anybody to fish it because their entry fees are ridiculous. The payouts are great, but the entry fees are ridiculous. And folks aren't running to it like I think the individual organizing it thought they would. And that's why. I mean, you're not going to go pay $5,000. Sure, you have a chance to win $30,000, but then there's no structure. There's no Waymasters. There's no social media. There's nothing there to help grow that. Yeah. And it's hard to convince somebody to spend that kind of money.
Because people want to, they fishing tournaments is fun, but we all know you can't survive on that, and so you got to do something to build your brand.
Unless you're Patrick Walters.
That's true. I was thinking, but I think Pete, you're right a lot when you look at the comments that just a lot of the folks who have been winning and done really well over the last 2 years. I know that if you want to call it like a life scope revolution, right? Since it's become such a big topic, I want you guys. I think bass is kind of missing a level of stardom. So what I mean is, you got the old guys that are still there, that we know their names, but then it's all young guys. Like there seems to be a 2-generational divide. Does that make sense?
Look,
Like we
it
got
does.
a lot of guys in the young 30s and 20s, and then we've got older guys like late 40s, 50s, and all. And some of that may be because of the split with MLF, and so you guys got like kind of that middle range. What Jacob Wheeler, Dustin Connell, Mark Daniels Jr. Like it's kind of that in between range. So I just don't think people are familiar with some of these newer anglers, but they're hammers, and some of like Trey may be a generational talent.
Yeah.
So
I feel completely confident in saying that
So
he's going to win.
I mean, well, look
win
what he
some
did,
trophies,
right?
And he's going to be a household name. I'm not going to say he's going to unseat KVD, but the kid's going to be around. This isn't a come in and shoot your shot, win one tournament and be gone.
This is why I think that you can't say that these kids don't have some form of intuition and instinct.
Yeah, 100%.
You watched those guys that started offshore because the winter conditions, the water temperature, the weather, everything. But then you saw them on day 3 and day 4 creep up into the shallows, and Trey McKinney boat flipped a 6.5 pounder and broke his rod.
He broke his rod
because he skipped a jig under a dock, right?
That was a good
so
one.
You know, they started where they knew the fish were at, and then as the days progressed, they followed the fish to where they were going to. So I mean, either you have somebody giving you the answers to the test, or you figured it out, right?
Yep.
And so figuring it out is exactly what makes you competitive in any sport. You just figured it out. And so these kids understand the playbook just a little bit better.
I agree. And I will add one more thing. What frustrates me a little bit with some of these anglers complaining, especially publicly on stage, right? There's not a lot, but there was some of that. They have preached to us for as long as I can remember growing up. Like, yes, when you're out in a tournament, you're competing against the fish, right? You're also competing against the guys you're competing against the fish. But we're always told, like, let the fish tell you what you need to do. Everyone has a favorite technique. I love to go flip a jig, right? Other people want a crankbait. Other people want, right? We all have our favorite technique. We love to go force the fish to do that. But they have taught us for 20 years, and every time they get on stage, every time they do a seminar, like, listen to the fish. Where Life Scope's now telling us that the winning bags are not what you want to do. They're out doing something else.
That's very, very true.
And you can't be so stubborn. You got to go do what the fish they're telling you to do.
Where they catch 10 century belts than to watch Hackney and Swindle go out there and boat flip.
It was an exciting tournament. Like all those, like the weights were super close. They were massive.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
it's a great event.
People have, it takes time to adapt to change, you know, so what we hear right now, we may not hear from a year from now.
Oh, you're still going to hear it.
I hope not.
Or it'll die down a little bit. Who knows, right?
Until there's an entire generation until they die are going to take it to the grave that forward facing.
And that's okay. Fishermen are some of the most hard-headed and stubborn people in the world, right? We want to we want to have a world full of secrets that we don't tell anybody about because we don't want them to use it against us, but we want to grow the sport. Well, that's kind of hard to do.
It took 15, almost 20 years for side imaging to not be viewed as destroying the sport. So
we have very long memories in this.
We have a long time to go.
But going back to it, man, Lake Fork was an absolute phenomenal event. I mean, a lot of people did really well. And, you know, you show up on day 2 with 40 something pounds and you're not even in the cut, you know, like, wow, you know, like that lake is showing out. So everybody should be proud of the fish that they caught. And this, you know, the start of the season, even with the opens down at Okeechobee, man, just, it started off with a bang. Toledo Bend was a good event. Lake Fork is a great event. So, I mean, they're rolling, dude, like full steam ahead. And then
they've got an open this coming weekend.
That's on what? Santee
Cooper is going on this week. And so obviously if you're listening to this, the event's over with by now.
Yep.
But like they're rolling right into it. I think
if you're listening to this, the classic starts today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think pretty close to it.
Yeah. So you got the open on
no, next week.
Red Crest.
We're a week from the classic. That The AAA championship starts today with Red Crest on the 14th.
You say AAA championship?
Yeah.
KVD. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
So
ready for KVD.
I am totally pulling for Kevin Van Dam to win Lay Lake,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think the world's got to be pulling for KVD.
Good gracious, yeah.
Potentially his last. Well, I think he qualified for heavy hitters too, so we'll probably have one more.
You're right.
But
Yeah.
his last championship, wink,
Yeah. You can see
championship
Pete's
in
face,
professional
wink, wink.
bass fishing, Red Crest coming up next week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, and that's on Lay Lake. That's in Alabama.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's right.
Yep.
It's right next to BS's headquarters.
Yeah, so that'll be a pretty cool event because they'll probably be spawning there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think you're definitely gonna have a spawn event.
Mhm.
And I think some guys are gonna jack them. I mean, we saw one big fish weight out of there last year, like 9 pounds. But
Oh yeah, that was
Jason Christie.
Christie caught one.
Yep.
From Frog, yeah.
But yeah, so Red Crest.
And then the classic.
Yeah. And
I'm
then
just trying to get people's blood going a little bit.
and then the classic. Where's the classic at?
Really?
Grand Lake.
I know we talked about it before.
Sure.
I wonder how Grand Lake's going to be fishing. I think we talked about this a couple episodes, but it'd be pretty interesting. So, yeah, what's after that? And then you got the MPFL.
We'll get to that. But then the elites go to Florida.
And
they're
yeah,
going
they're
to Florida late.
yeah, they're back.
April.
They're back to back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting. Different time of year. Gonna be a post spawn deal. So that'll be a fun one. You'll see him caught a bunch of different ways. That's gonna be and that's gonna make or break some folks' seasons.
Yeah,
down there because it is going to be different. History is not going to play as big a role because I would say probably, I don't know, you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but 70% of the guys have probably never been there in April and fished Florida.
I don't know the percent, but I know it's going to be
It's
different.
I mean, it's going to be a high number. A lot of folks only fish these lakes. I think people fail to realize they only fish these lakes when there's a tournament there.
Jordan Lee was there a couple of years ago in April or May when the MLF went there.
MLF,
right.
Yeah.
So there might be a couple guys.
Scott, your local Florida guys obviously have experience down there in different times.
Yeah, but the guys who have been on tour for a long time, like Scott and a couple of the other Florida boys, like they don't have as much experience during that time of year either because they're always
traveling somewhere else.
Well, I'm sure they've been there. I mean, they've been on the water at least a few days. They may not be out there hammering on them, but they have a better idea than somebody that's never been there in April because it's completely different when post spawn down there. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know enough about
people are going to be scoping down there.
That's what I said. You'll be able to do everything, and that's you'll see guys catch them shallow. You guys catch them deep.
I'm fully confident the Harris chain one will be one offshore.
Oh yeah,
scoping and the grass.
Yeah.
As long as the grass is set up good this year. I don't know. I haven't checked it out.
The other exciting thing though, out of the two elite tournaments, and I haven't looked at viewership numbers for MLF because I just haven't looked at it.
Do they even publish it?
I don't know. Bass has set records the last 2 events.
Yeah.
Set and broken as far as viewership. So, there's a revolution. There's a lot of new folks. I've followed Milliken since his first videos where he was fishing in spillways and didn't even have a boat to where he's at today. And a lot of folks on his social media pages are like, I wouldn't even watch the Elite Series if it wasn't for you. So you're talking about a guy with 1 million followers roughly across all of his social platforms. Yeah. That's a lot of eyes.
That's a lot.
And I know people have their opinions of Ben, but any new eyes on professional fishing or on bass fishing is good in my opinion to see what folks go through and how it is. And it's cool. It's cool to see those numbers grow. And I think younger guys, Trey 19 obviously has a younger following. These are the folks that young kids now are looking up to. And it's nothing against our heroes. I grew up, love watching Swindle and Hackney and Clun and all of those guys go out there and do those things. But I think people fail to realize, we as fans fail to realize that McKinney and Milliken and Hamner and Williams, these guys are, when we were 11 years old reading Bassmaster magazine and about those guys, those are them to these kids today.
Sure.
And all we're doing with all this negative BS that we're putting out there in the world is giving those kids a salty taste about bass fishing. You may push folks, you might push the next Kevin Van Dam out of the sport because he just doesn't want to deal with that stuff.
That's true.
You know what I mean? He doesn't want to deal with people talking smack on the way that they like to fish or don't like to fish. So I know we don't like to talk about technology, but it's such a big thing. It's kind of hard not to at least spend a little bit of time on it.
it seems like we always drift back into the conversation.
It's hard not to
but
because it's such a
a
polarizing topic.
and that's the topic. That is the main thing. That's for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
This has been like
Which sucks. I'd rather the topic be a 19-year-old just won a dang Elite Series event.
I know.
How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Not a 19-year-old won Woody of Without Lives.
Some 12 or 13-year-old kid watched Trey McKinney or any of these rookies that they've been following as young children, and their fishing hero just won.
And they're like,
right?
I can do that in 5 years.
Yeah, like that could be me, right? And now that there's so many avenues through college fishing or through high school fishing, college fishing, the opens, all that stuff, like there's just so many ways for these kids to move up through the ranks. And guess what? You got these young guys to thank for that. You really do. I mean, obviously the older generation had a huge impact on getting those platforms started. And now these younger generations are having a huge impact on getting the younger generations.
You know where there isn't any debate about technology and all this BS going on?
War.
The league. Yeah, so you don't see all of this negative stuff on MPFL socials. You see a growing fan base, obviously they've got some absolute hammers that have been there since day one. Luis Fernandez, if you listen to our last episode, Hunter Bogman, a bunch of very, very successful anglers that haven't fished any other pro tours. Now you have guys coming over from the elites. There's been a few that have fished the elites and the BPT that are there. So it's growing, but you don't see all of this stuff, all of this negativity at weigh-ins and when folks are talking and through social media surrounding them. And I think it's a testament to the way they do things. If you haven't listened to our episodes, if you're new to us, go back and check our episodes out with Brad and Paul from the NPFL. There's 2 of them. Go check those out. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on the championship just wrapped up because we have no idea how it's going to go. All I can tell you is it was 61 foot low and somebody won $100,000 out of 26 anglers. So
yeah,
we'll follow up. We'll be a little bit behind, but with who won that and how it was won. But yeah, so they've got Amistad, and then I don't remember where they go from there.
I just want to say that Lake Amistad from the Talk is 23 and a half hours away. They put in at Diablo East Boat Ramp, and you're right, Pete. Actually, I was talking to Josh Watkins today because Josh is not fishing the championship, and through him conversing with some of the other anglers, like it's 66 foot low, 68 foot low, right? Like the lake is extremely low, and that's due to a massive drought. I actually did massive drought and some other things, but I did a little research on it, and that crosses over into Mexico, right? Amistad. Mm-hmm. It's a huge body of water. But the one thing I was looking at it's so unique, and I'm really excited that the MPFL took those 26 anglers down there, which I misspoke last time. I said 25, or maybe I made a post, but somebody tied for 25th with the Angler of the Year point. So there's 26 anglers down there, and but I was looking at it and I'm like, it's a cool place, but the terrain for me is like, oh man, like in the middle of the desert, like. Who could imagine that something lives right there? Like you've seen Bedouins that live out in the middle of the desert, and you're like, what the heck do you survive out here? And then you got this giant like impoundment, and it's like, wow, in the middle of literally nowhere.
I don't know too much about it. I'm going to do a little more research this week, and I'll learn a lot more as they're on the water. Maybe need to go back and watch the old ones from Bassmaster from when it were 15 years ago when the last time they were down there.
It was a hammer fest back in the day.
Yeah.
But I think when Lewis was on last week, I think he's right. He said it reminded him a lot of like a Western California lake. And I know Lake Powell and Lake Mead, they're not in California, but they're
Clear Lake.
Yeah, they're out in the middle of nowhere. And actually, in some ways, it's like Oahe out.
The Dakota.
Yeah. I mean, that's Grasslands, Dakota, but South Dakota.
Or South Dakota. South Dakota.
It's just like kind of out in the middle.
It's like Mars,
middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Like like Oahe is like on Mars, and then you got like Amistad. It's like in the center of the sun. You know what I mean? So pretty cool place, man. Like, and Fernandez has some experience on that body of water, so it'd be interesting. But it's like I told Watkins earlier, no matter how big a fish or how small a fish they catch, somebody is going to win $100,000. And did you guys see the shield that they have? That's super cool.
And everyone gets paid too, right?
And everybody gets paid.
A check. So everybody's going to get a check. It's I think Lewis had 2 days of pre-practice. That's his only experience on.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many other guys got that, but he's got at least 2 days up on everybody else.
Now, the other guys aren't going down, are they? It's not a requirement.
No, I think he said a couple people were gonna like go down, but I know that they had like a really nice banquet for the anglers. I think some of the anglers' significant others went and stuff and joined. But I do got to give some credit to John Cox from DeBerry, Florida is fishing it, right?
Yeah.
And Patrick Walters is fishing it, of course.
And Keith Carson.
And those guys just finished up. BPT finished up on Santee Cooper.
Yep.
Right. And the elites finished up on Fork. And so you got 3 anglers that trekked across the country.
Well, it wasn't bad for Walters and Cox because they were right there in Texas.
That's true. They were right there.
Still probably 8 hours.
Yeah. I mean,
but Texas, 8 hours is better.
Texas, you spend like 2 days.
Carson, I think, had like a 22-hour drive from Santee to get there.
So he putting that Texas to the test. You know what I mean?
To fish that, we've talked about how much Cox and Poche and them fish when they were fishing Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Cox is still fishing the NPFL and the elites.
Mm-hmm.
Walters, the NPFL and the elites. Keith stepped away for his first year on BPT. Just to get the low. I mean, that's a big step to go.
Yeah.
To another, try to fish 2 pro leagues and to do them both in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably just wanted to focus on the MLF one.
Yeah.
He's been trying for a long time to get there. If those two need a show, man.
Yeah.
If John Cox and Keith Carson had a fishing show, I would never miss it.
Dude.
They are hilarious.
Seriously.
Their YouTube stuff when they're together, ton of fun. Dude,
you know what? Let's try. We'll talk to our friends, but we'll try to get Keith Carson and John Cox on the show for everyone, because I think that'd be really cool. Because they're a very unique group of anglers, right? Like Cox is, he's staying true to what he does best. Mm-hmm. It's still working out for him, right? Yeah. He's definitely not pulling off any victories by doing this just yet. Keith has adapted to the technology and stuff. It's only a matter of time before John Cox either puts it on his boat or whatever.
He'll put it on. He had it on his boat last year. I think he just took it off for the Texas tournaments because he didn't think he was going to need it. And then that cold front and everything, I think, threw a lot of people's plans for Texas off. Keith has completely changed. Like, he fished just like John. And then he got walloped in the first BPT. It was like, I got to do this. Yep. He went out and had a top 20 finish in a Toyota like the next weekend. And he actually came out and said, I don't know if I'll throw another cast at a bank this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Now that I kind of have this figured out and what I can do with it, I don't know if I'll fish the bank.
Sure. I mean, like, you'd be kind of silly not to. That'd be like knowing the playbook for the opposing team on the field and then just never using it, right? Like, you gotta adapt, or you're just gonna get,
you probably don't want to learn it during the tournament season, but he's taking the punches that he has, the cards he's dealt, and he's doing what he has to do, and that's the mentality to stick in it. But yeah, so that whoever won, congratulations. I know we'll have you on the show at some point. We'll work to get you on. So anybody that's listening now, know that the winner of the NPFL will get them in with us or on with us. And then they're heading to Hartwell, which is right in our backyard.
Yeah.
That'll be a cool one. Probably try to go down there for championship Saturday, because it's only like a 3.5 hour drive or something. It's not bad.
About an hour closer than when we went to Lanier, I think.
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour.
I think it's even closer than that, isn't it? Yeah. It's not far. So try to make it down there for that one, at least for championship Saturday. So if you're listening now, plan on us hopefully being there. We may try to get there for more. We want to try to go to an event, but we had talked about maybe going to St. John's in September. Is that when they're there? September, October. They're there towards the end of the year.
October, yeah.
We talked about maybe trying to go down to that one, because it's only, we can get St. John's like a little over 7 hours, and it's a different fishery that we've never been to. So we've got some cool stuff. Whichever event we do.
You're the only one who's fished it, right, Trey?
Yeah, but like, let's be honest, it was like a solid day and a half, and it was during Daytona Bike Week. So, and I'm not a motorcycle rider anymore, but I may have had some cold beverages while I was down there, which resulted in not getting up as early as needed. Okay. So I'll leave it there. I do want to throw this out there, though. This is something cool. And since we're on the MPFL topic, this is something cool that they posted earlier. So you have the opportunity through First Forum. So that's 1STPHORM Outdoors. You can go to their website and you have the chance to fish a bass fishing tournament with 10 anglers from the National Professional Fishing League. There's some stipulations on there, and I'm not going to go through all the stipulations, but
Go sign up.
yeah, go sign up and see if you get entered into, or you'll enter in, and then you could be one of the 10
names. They're going to fly you down to Hartwell.
Mhm.
I think it was Hartwell. You're going to get paired up with an NPFL angler and somebody from First Form. You're going to go out there, going to fish a 1-day tournament.
I think it's April 19th and April 20th.
Yeah, the winner gets $2,500 plus a year's supply of First Form products. So they do all the health, protein, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal, man.
They're getting pretty big into the outdoor space, so I'm sure we'll be hearing more from them and helping anglers stay fit.
I signed up for sure.
I signed up too. And then Trey said if I win, I had to give it to him.
So if these guys win, direct order.
I'll let you know how that works.
But yeah, man, some super exciting stuff. You got all 3 major championships going on, and then these guys progress from, the south to the north and do their thing. We got tournaments starting too. So Pete and I, we got a tournament at the end of March. You got a tournament coming up next week.
Supposed to be on Tuesday. And, so I got to get out, and with an inch of rain coming on Saturday,
Jordan gonna be chocolatey.
So I probably won't even try to go pre-fish till Monday, and just because it's going to change so much between tomorrow, Friday, and then Tuesday.
Just remember, don't be afraid to jump a log jam.
I may have to.
The Bass Warrior
did it. So
you're on the clock now.
I mean,
opportunity presents itself, man.
Ben just got a brand new engine because he blew his up in Florida. He's got brand new.
That was like 3 years.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's still pretty new.
Man, that was 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. Yeah, that was on the Harris chain, right?
I remember that.
And then you just upgraded. You got a Sonar Pros wiring harness, right?
Yep.
And then you got new lithium batteries inbound. So you're ready to roll. You're ready to jump some log jams, but I wouldn't do it.
I mean,
I would.
And then
I got aluminum.
And then you finally got your boat broken out and ran for the year and caught his first bass of 2020.
First North Carolina
bass of 2024.
I've only fished one other time.
Yeah.
Or twice.
That's something that we haven't talked about because it's not like we're pros or anything, but I didn't take a break all winter long. I was out there fishing.
I pretty much always take December and January off.
And I was focusing on adapting or not.
Yeah.
And I was focusing on forward facing sonar, but it's exhausting. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if you're fishing like 1-day derbies or 4-day. I mean, definitely there's a difference, but I feel it in my body and in my mind, just not taking months and months off of fishing. Part of it though is it eats me alive on a nice day where I'm not working to not be on the water. Like it just eats me alive. Like I'm like, why? I mean, yeah, I have a wife and kids and stuff. I should totally be spending time with them as well, which I do. But it's just something is just different about it, man. But I can tell you right now, I'm tired from fishing since all year long.
You got to take a break. I did the same thing. I mean, for the last 3 years, I never stopped. And then this year I was like, I'm taking 2 months off. And I think it was the best thing I've done.
Really?
I don't feel that normally. Yeah. Normally I'm starting to get tired, like you said already, because I feel like every day I'm coming home from work at 5 o'clock. I got an hour. I'm hooking the boat up and running to the lake, just an hour in. And now it's like, I'll just wait till Saturday and it'll be fine. And it is. I mean, it's great to spend that much time on the water and I wouldn't change it, but I've also enjoyed having 2 months off.
Yeah.
So I've got to do some different stuff.
Sometimes. I mean, you did bird's nest about 6 times.
That was a new reel. Yeah. Brand new reel. I didn't have her quite dialed in.
But better to get it out during pre-practice,
Sometimes you just have to go through those phases. So I haven't been out this year. Part of it's because I was working on the boat and all the trade show season and all, but like Tuesday or 2 days ago, Monday, whatever it was, when it was 70 degrees, and my boat, I can't get it out yet.
Oh,
because I'm still waiting on the battery.
Yeah,
like it was killing me. I'm like, I'm getting the bugs.
I would have just dumped it in there and grabbed the oar and just oared around the lake.
You could have just never shut the big motor off, and you'd have been fine.
Well, yeah, I probably could have done that. But I didn't want to risk it out there and then like finding stuff and like then my battery completely dies. So.
But the good thing about taking the time off, like, you guys took time off, either it was forced or you chose to do it. We got to work a lot of the shows and meet a lot of great people. And you guys are going to see that here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to be bringing some new people on the show that we've never had on before. And we definitely we're going to get some repeat offenders on because there's some people who want to come back on and talk about like technique specific stuff. But like during the quote unquote off season, it's a great time for us to just go meet people and, you know, and talk to them. And there are some people that, you know, like Hunter Bogman talked about it. Like did he take the season off this year? Yeah, he took the season off this year. And he said he did it one time where he never took any time off, and he said he'll never do it again. So, you know, everybody's built differently and stuff like that. But I'm definitely a little fatigued from not taking any time off. So we'll see how that affects me during the next, you know, coming months and stuff. And speaking of the coming months, if you haven't entered into our giveaway that we've talked about for a long time, we have 5 different prize packs that are going to go out to the masses. And we're going to do the first giveaway. By the time you're hearing this, it's going to happen the week after, I believe, at the end of the 2 weeks after you hear this.
The last Friday.
Yes.
In March.
That's right. The last Friday in March, the last Friday in April, May, June, and July, we're going to be giving away multiple things as prize packs. And the way to enter that is to go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. Where else can they go?
I think tune in. I think it's on Amazon.
Anywhere that there's podcasts, it's there, and then YouTube. So go leave us a review, and then screenshot that and send that to us. For YouTube, if you just like and subscribe to the page, that'll work because you can't really leave a review.
Are we given double entries if we get a Spotify star and a podcast?
One entry per person.
Yeah, but we would appreciate a review.
We'd appreciate
on
it
everything.
if you want to put it on everything.
Yeah.
And you only need to do it once. So once you enter, you'll be in the hat for the entire 5. So if you get in before we draw the first one, you've got 5 chances to win one of those. If you don't, then we'll keep talking about it. But you don't have to re-enter every month. You don't have to resend it. Once I get your name on the list, you're good to go. But first month, last Friday of March, and it's going to be a Cash and Icon chatterbait rod and a prize pack of OneCast Fishing snagless bladed jigs.
5
to throw on that. There's
5
of them in there. So make sure you get entered. We've got fish finders. We've got Hobie eyewear. We've got a Plano box full of jigs. I mean, full of jigs.
Super full of jigs.
OneCast fishing jigs. We've got baits from
Swamp Fox Custom
Lures. We've got all kinds of stuff. So make sure you get entered on that. Leave us a review. Doesn't have to be 5 stars. Be honest with us. Let us know what we do well, what we can do better, all of that good stuff. So, looking forward to getting some cool stuff out to some of our listeners and viewers, and supporting companies that have supported us. And
it's free. It's free for you.
Free. Yep.
All
you got to do is click the button.
Yep. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited for the tournament season to kick off, and we're definitely going to try to shoot some content this year. And a lot of tournaments all look the same on video to me, but they all come with their unique little flavor. And I'm constantly trying to learn from other people. Hopefully you guys can learn some stuff from us and all the guests that we bring on. We definitely want to talk like spawn specific stuff, smallmouth specific, like you name it, maybe even spotted bass fisheries. They're very unique in a way. So
and if you're not joining us for our Fishing Fridays that we do live, we do it on all of our stuff. Make sure you do that. We do it almost every Friday. We post at least a day, sometimes more in advance, so if we're going to do it. There are times where we have tournaments and stuff where we don't. But we talk about a lot of that stuff, especially North Carolina specific stuff on those lives. So we answer a lot of questions. We talk about baits, where we're catching fish, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you're joining those if you're not. Facebook, my personal page, OneCast Fishing's page, the OneCast community page, YouTube on my YouTube, on OneCast Fishing's YouTube. I also set up today the OneCast specifically podcast YouTube channel where we're going to put some of those educational video stuff Trey was talking about. We're going to put some of that stuff on there for y'all to follow along with. So it's going to broadcast to there too. So jump into one of those. It's live chat. We interact with everybody. We'll answer your questions. We try to catch everybody's comments. It's gotten tougher as we've gotten more and more people. They get moving pretty quick sometimes, but that's a great place to come if you have specific questions about things, because we can respond to them immediately. We try to answer them on the podcast when people ask them in the group, but it can be tough to keep track of. So
yeah, I do want to say this as we're coming to a close on this episode. You know, we have the OneCast community page for us to interact with everybody and continue building that culture that we talk about. But if you leave stuff on there after you've been accepted into the group where you're just trying to stir the hornet's nest and make people mad, we're going to remove you from that. Like, that's just the way it is, because that's not part of the culture that we want to build. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but you can definitely see when people post stuff on there to agitate each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what it's all about, because we have a lot of young people that are on that page, and that is not the narrative we're trying to spread. So if you're one of those people that just wants to get a rise out of the community, that's not the community for you. And that's just complete transparency and honesty. And, you know, there's other groups for that. So I did want to lay that out there for expectation management. So,
yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. We try to live what we talk about when we talk about a culture of anglers helping anglers. That's what we expect on our page. And if you can't play nice, then you're going to get gone.
It's our page and you get the boo.
I blocked and banned somebody yesterday for something they said. So
someone spammed something and I blocked them today.
Yeah.
We don't let the spam in there. There are some questions. If you're just now joining and you're not already in, if you have like 6 people that are mutual friends that are in the group, usually I'll look at who they are and I'll accept you based on that.
Yeah.
If not, make sure you answer the questions, because otherwise you could be one of those bot accounts and then we end up with the buy your shirt here BS from some lady in Yugoslavia
with our logo on it.
That's a throwback. Yugoslavia is not even a country. People are like, what is Yugoslavia? It used to be a country.
Yeah.
I think it's part of Russia now. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
So we do police that. I appreciate Trey bringing that up. So if you're coming on there to try to argue and be an internet tough guy, there's other pages for that.
Sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, guys, good to go?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right. Hey, thanks, guys, for joining us on this episode. Stay tuned for some really awesome guests that are up and coming. Stay tuned for all the championships and the results that are going to happen, and help us continue growing a culture of anglers helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.